Before the Mongols, the world existed as isolated islands of power. Trade routes were fragile, unsafe, and fragmented. Merchants did not travel with confidence. They traveled with fear. Every border meant new rules, new dangers, new tolls. Goods moved slowly, information even slower. A product leaving China might take years to reach the Mediterranean, if it arrived at all. Knowledge was trapped within regions, economies were local, and trust rarely crossed borders. The world was not small, it was simply disconnected. This fragile structure created enormous inefficiencies, and more importantly, enormous opportunities for anyone capable of unifying movement itself. The Mongols came from a world without walls. The steppe taught them survival through movement. Distance was not an obstacle, it was a skill. Speed was not chaos, it was control. Unlike settled civilizations that depended on fixed infrastructure, the Mongols mastered flexibility. They understood logistics intuitively, how far a horse could run, where water could be found, how supplies could move efficiently. This mindset would later be applied not only to warfare, but to commerce itself. For the Mongols, mobility was power. Mongol conquests were violent, but never random. Cities were chosen carefully, especially those sitting on vital trade routes. Capturing a city was not just about territory, it was about redirecting flow. Once a node of commerce was taken, it could be protected, taxed, and integrated. Every conquest tightened the empire's grip on economic movement. The sword opened the door, but trade kept it open. After destruction came stability. The Pax Mongolica created a level of safety unknown to medieval traders. Roads were guarded, laws enforced, and punishment for disrupting trade was severe. Merchants could cross thousands of kilometers under a single authority. For the first time, Eurasia functioned as one connected economic space. Under Mongol rule, merchants were no longer seen as weak travelers begging for safety. They became strategic assets of the empire. The Mongol leadership understood a simple truth: trade only flows where trust exists. To protect merchants was to protect revenue, information, and stability. Laws were clear and brutally enforced. Anyone who robbed, harmed, or obstructed a trader was punished as if they had betrayed the Khan himself. This was not mercy, it was policy. By elevating merchants to a protected class, the Mongols transformed fear into confidence. Caravans grew larger, routes busier, and markets more interconnected. Commerce stopped hiding and began to expand openly. The Yam system was not just a postal network, it was the empire's nervous system. Relay stations spread across thousands of kilometers allowed messages, officials, merchants, and goods to move with astonishing speed. Horses were changed, supplies refreshed, and information flowed continuously. This system collapsed distance. What once took months could now take weeks or even days. Control over information meant control over decisions, and control over decisions meant power. Trade thrived because uncertainty vanished. The empire always knew what was moving, where it was moving, and why. Silk, spices, and gold were valuable, but ideas were priceless. Along Mongol trade routes traveled technologies, medical knowledge, astronomical data, and administrative systems. Gunpowder knowledge moved west. Islamic mathematics moved east. Navigation, finance, and engineering crossed cultural boundaries. The Mongol trade network became a corridor of knowledge transfer. Empires rose not only because of what they produced, but because of what they learned. Trade became education at scale. The Mongols ruled over differences rather than erasing them. Traders of different religions, languages, and customs moved under the same protection. Tolerance was not ideological, it was practical. Conflict slows trade, stability accelerates it. by allowing cultural diversity to exist within a single economic system. The Mongols ensured constant flow. This silent acceptance created one of the most diverse commercial environments in history. Marco Polo is often remembered as a brave individual who crossed an impossible world. But the truth is more revealing. Marco Polo was not an exception. He was a product of the Mongol system. His journey was possible because the roads were secure, the laws predictable, and the authority unified. Thousands of unnamed merchants traveled similar routes long before and after him. What made Polo famous was not his uniqueness, but Europe's realization that such movement was even possible. The Mongol trade network turned extraordinary journeys into routine operations. Travel stopped being a gamble and became infrastructure. Trade does not thrive on freedom alone, it thrives on standards. The Mongols understood this deeply. Weights, measures, and trade rules were unified across vast territories. Merchants no longer needed to renegotiate value at every city. A scale in Samarkand meant the same as a scale in Beijing. This invisible consistency removed friction from commerce. What looks boring on paper became revolutionary in practice. The Mongols didn't just protect trade, they optimized it. Under Mongol rule, money itself evolved. Paper currency, already used in China, moved westward through the empire. This changed how value was imagined. Wealth no longer had to be heavy or metallic. Trust backed currency, and the empire enforced that trust. Trade accelerated because money became lighter, faster, and more abstract. Financial ideas crossed borders just like goods did. This was not just economic expansion, it was a mental shift. The Mongols did not demand belief, they demanded order. Under their rule, Muslims, Christians, Buddhists, and others traded side by side. This tolerance was not moral idealism, it was economic strategy. Religious conflict disrupts markets. Stability fuels them. By allowing faiths to coexist, the Mongols ensured uninterrupted commercial flow. Temples, mosques, and churches stood near marketplaces, not battlefields. Trade came first. Under Mongol control, cities like Samarkand, Bokhara, and Karakoram transformed. They were no longer just political centers, they became commercial engines. Markets expanded, caravans converged, and urban life reorganized around trade. Wealth concentrated where roads met. The empire didn't just conquer cities, it rewired their purpose. But connection carried danger. The same routes that moved silken knowledge also carried disease. The Black Death followed the arteries of trade. Speed amplified prosperity and catastrophe. The Mongol network revealed a hard truth. Global systems spread both growth and collapse. The Mongols ruled something rare, movement itself. Borders mattered less than flows. Whoever controlled roads, timing, and access controlled wealth. Power no longer sat only in palaces, it traveled. Taxes, protection, and regulation turned trade into governance. Every caravan was a data point. Every route was leverage. Control was subtle, continuous, and effective. Unlike Rome or China, Mongol power relied less on walls and more on access. Roads replaced fortresses. Openness became strength. More valuable than gold was trust. Predictable rules enforced safety, and consistent systems turned confidence into the empire's true currency. The Mongol Empire did not collapse overnight. It weakened as unity fractured. When roads became unsafe again and authority split, trade slowed. And when trade slowed, control faded. Power retreated quietly, not with battles, but with broken connections. Political division mattered, but economic fragmentation mattered more. Without a unified system, trust evaporated. Markets shrank. Movement slowed. The empire lost what made it strong. Even after collapse, the roads remained. The idea of connected economies survived. Later empires inherited the logic, if not the structure. The Mongol Empire created the first truly continental trade network. Not perfect, not permanent, but unprecedented. Modern supply chains follow the same logic: speed, trust, protection, flow. The tools changed. The principles did not. The Mongols understood something timeless. Power moves before armies do. Roads decide outcomes long before battles begin. Trade was never just exchange. It shaped alliances, redirected power, and decided winners long before wars were fought. The Mongols understood that controlling trade meant shaping reality itself. In the Mongol world, speed was dominance. The faster goods and information moved, the stronger authority became. Slowness meant vulnerability. Empires rose and fell, but roads decided which lasted longer. The Mongols didn't just travel history, they directed it. The most powerful part of the Mongol Empire could not be seen on maps. It existed in systems, trust, and movement. Today's global economy still follows Mongol logic. Supply chains, logistics hubs, and trade corridors echo ancient routes. Empires fall. Networks endure. The Mongols understood this, centuries before the modern world caught up.